plenty of noise in the background. Let's keep it professional, please. Okay. Back again to Usawide. Today now the 30th of December 2020, and this is a special program. But just before I go into the details of today, most of we wake up this morning for learn of the death of a friend and a brother, a man who I consider to be a friend and a big brother, a man who is well known in the community, both at home and abroad. The long and short of it all, we lost Mr. Victor French in the early hours, the small hours of this morning. Down at the man at the background, as one I can see, Mr. Victor French is a well-known figure, both at home and abroad. Of course, party affiliation was the All People's Congress. He was undeniably APC and was very proud wearing the tie or the hat for the APC. But notwithstanding, when it comes to the country, it was about the country first before color or party. And as such, it cut across the political divide, had friends on all sides, and he will be sorely missed. On this platform, we want to use this opportunity for express with sincere and deepest condolences to the family of the late Mr. French. The body perishes, but the soul remains and it returns. So in this light, it is a process that we all will have to go through at some point in this life. And I repeat again, we use this platform for express the deepest of condolences to the French family. May the soul of the late man rest in perfect peace. However, amen. The struggle still continues, okay? I hope this is Mr. Ali trying to enter the platform. Wanna bear with me, please? Somebody's trying to enter. Okay, I think that's him, the same iPad I was talking about. Okay, let's see. Wanna bear with me, please? Guests, they wanna bear with me. This is very interesting. Mr. Ali, if you've entered the platform and you're hearing me, just wanted to confirm audio check, please, sir. Mr. Ali, Emmanuel? Okay, somebody did try for enter anyway, and I suppose that's him. So we go continue, and we get to understand the constraints. This man, they all the way in the bush, back home. They tend to farming and other responsibilities, and we know the difficulties. So we go understand that, but he's giving us his word, and I sure say they try for join we. So anyway, like I say, despite all the troubles in life, but in many respects, life goes on. We miss those who have passed on, but we have to soldier on because there is some kind of responsibility hanging over the heads of every one of us. And today in this light, now we want to talk about, as we can always say on this platform, the soul searching for a destination in a positive sense for our country. Family, and there's a distinction I want to make clear and understand between what we call the ideas or concepts, the concepts of government or governance, as we would like to say, because first thing have been government, but the word governance is now more ever appropriate. But there's a concept, a distinction between the concept of governance and politics. Politics now something we all they practice, sometimes consciously, like most of the people on this platform, if not all, and some other people subconsciously, but politics is nothing where we all they practice, whether not inside your bedroom, with your wife, with your children, we do all practice some kind of politics. So politics nothing, if we want to define, and we involve processes by which a distinct group of people, and this is where the issue is, a distinct group of people who find commonality, common ground, okay, can come together, even though sometimes they can get divergent opinions or interest, but together for the greater good of something, they can come together and make a collective decision which generally is regarded as binding to that group. In other words, Some people they can call on court, some people they can call on society, but in politics as well, when group of people they come together, now then thing they can come put together the interest of something, even though they get in different view. So in this light, okay, they can use this for enforce a common policy because now something where they agree to. It's like where we draw, we plan of action, or we manifesto. This is not something where we agree to say this is what we're going to do. So even though we get in differences in opinions, we've come together and agreed on a particular thing that which will take us forward. Governance, and that was politics, by the way, Fambulem. In another way, governance, nothing where they convey the administrative processes, okay, to the people, or the thing where we aspire, for do. I want that we actually understand this. Okay, somebody's trying to enter again. I hope Mohammed Jallo. Okay, let's see who this Mohammed Jallo is. Yeah. Hello, Mr. Jallo. Hello. Okay, somebody just enter. I just want for confirm. So una sorry for the break. And Fambulem, this conversation at some point undoubtedly is going to be heated, but it's a good conversation that we need for have. We can disagree for agree. The reason why they mentioned this is like I expect us to conduct ourselves as adults. We understand say we can disagree for agree. No abuse. Like put on straight now the chat room. Would expect the chat room for be really active, but no abuse. We respect each other's opinions, even though we can agree. Okay, so we still wait for one more guest. So I'll be just to try for do a quick intro so we can get into the program without wasting boku time, because this program today is very, very important. So I'll be try for draw the distinction between politics and waiting we go call governance. Then two different things then they, even though they're kind of connected and related somewhere, but it's good for let we understand that. And the reason why we try for breaking down, not so for we guess them, because we guess them are people that we understand this very well. Okay, now this panel here tonight, the panel understand this. So we can get argument, we can continue between we and we see most of the time. And we can assume the possibility of the traditional separation between politics and administration. But contemporary governance practice and theory sometimes question this distinction. And I think it makes the talk very, very interesting, premising that both governance and politics involve aspects of power and accountability. Undeniably correct. In this light, for kick off this program, let me see again who's trying to enter one last time. In this slide for kick off this program, okay, Valentine Baxter. There are a couple of strange names where they try for enter the platform. And then they disturb with flow. Mr. Jallo and Mr. Baxter, una go need to identify yourselves, please. Would they encourage observers then at the back room? We don't mind this na style where they introduce na the then and now, and una can weigh in later. But you can't just be in the background, me with the moderate self not know who you are. So if you can break the silence for a moment, we will let for understand who you are, please. So I'm going to continue at some point. You will interject, and if you can't, then I will have to remove the both of you from the program.
My name is Mohamed Jallo. I'm Mohamed Jallo.
Okay. Okay, Mohamed Jallo. Were you invited? Marge, were you invited by someone here? Because
by Bashiru Vande.
Okay, brilliant. That's all we wanted to know. You can stay in the background. This is not something we practice on this platform and as an observer. And at some point, there's a possibility that we can bring you in for let you weigh in with your opinion as how far you see the conversation they go, the ifs and the buts, the pros and the cons. Thank you for identifying yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. We still get one more guest where we don't know who's that. Valentine Baxter.
Yes, Valentine Baxter, Sierra Leone, and I saw it through Facebook, and just an observer interested in listening and learning. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. I'm not going to ask you for that question like you see on our Facebook, but I'm sure you didn't see the access code on Facebook. But
yeah, it was through the NGC site.
Okay.
Yeah,
we honorable friend Mr. Bashir will not divide now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, then, not a problem. Welcome, Mr. Baxter, and welcome to the program.
Yeah, in
okay?
fact, if I prefer I watch through, is it on YouTube though?
No, it's not being. No, it's not been. This one is not being streamlined to YouTube, or the edited version go did it later. But
right, okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, that's fine. I want to go straight to the program. Welcome, Mr. Baxter. Yeah, welcome to the back room. The functions of the Sierra Leonean Parliament. Now we want to talk about today because it's central to all the way through the say and the key importance of Parliament. There are laws, which exist in that parliament. They were responsible for shape the direction of which country they go. So I want to ask, bring a very, very experienced parliamentarian inside this program here tonight, in person of Mr. Mengot. We work in the British Parliament for 8 good years with plenty of experience in terms of the functions, the processes and procedures of Parliament, and many other things, whether not select committees and oversight committees, but this man get vast experience. So, Mr. Mengot, the functions of the Sierra Leonean Parliament, now I want to let you break down to we fambulem today. Parliamentary scrutiny, the role of select committees, and the list of committees of Parliament, and what do you mean by domestic housekeeping? How does Parliament function, or how is the Sierra Leonean Parliament supposed to function? Mr. Mengot, are you there, sir?
It's on mute. Ask her for unmute yourself.
Okay, Mr. Mengot, you're on mute, sir. You need to unmute your mic.
No, please.
Okay, I'll go ask him one more time and then we'll go move on straight. We need to move on. We are a couple of minutes behind. Fambulendia, will allow we shape this audio and video so that it will go far and wide. Okay, we don't lost Mr. Mengot briefly, but he will come back. So anyway, while we wait for him to come back, I want to shift this question to Mr. Cornelius Devo. And Fambulem, we get Mr. Cornelius Devo.
You can hear me.
Yeah, Mr. Mengot, you're back. Did you hear the... Yeah, we can hear you now, yes, and we are happy to have you back. You hear the question, sir? We're asking regarding Parliament.
Yeah, you talk about the functions, how Parliament.
Yeah, how Parliament they function, and your bandwidth is low, so maybe the voice going to go low and high, but maybe at some point you will find strength in your network. But if you hear the question, will you attempt to answer the question, please, sir? Okay, Mr. Mengot, definitely they have a problem with his network. Mr. Mengot, your network, the play up is low, so you're freezing and the audio level is not good at all. Let me, while we look for strength from Mr. Mengot for can deal with this parliamentary thing, I want to take the same question to Mr. Cornelius Devo. Parliament gets a huge function now with democracy. They're supposed to shape things in the direction in which they're supposed to go. And I'll be the say again, they do have a responsibility. But are there things that you would like to question about the direction of this particular parliament, Mr. Devo?
Thank you very much, my brother. Before I respond to your question, on behalf of the leadership of the All People's Congress and the general membership, we want to extend sincere and heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of our fallen comrade Victor French. Ideally, a personality we cut across the political divide, and that's somebody we all don't learn from as upcoming politicians, that even in the course of politics, putting the nation in interest above politics is very important for the way able to develop the democracy or the practice in Sierra Leone. So as a party, we feel in passing away at such an unexpected time, but we give God the glory for his life, and we tell the family, say, Osh, God, Nangi, and I take.
Amen.
if I for answer your question directly, I'm not going to provide an answer where go dey contrary to the views of sitting members of parliament, particularly the Honorable Ibrahim Tawa Conte, we get the audacity for come out boldly and accuse this current parliament of complicity in corruption. But providing an answer, we perhaps will sum up to the current perception of the Honorable Tawa Conte. I will start from the fact that Parliament, being the house of the people's representative in any democracy, that the centerpiece of any, the nerve of good governance and democracy. The people of Sierra Leone in 2018 voted for a parliament where actually reflect the will of the people. And in that parliament, the people voted an APC majority. And it follows, therefore, by parliamentary processes and other precedents that the majority party in the parliament now forget the speaker. And so when you get an executive, we manipulate the election of the speaker in concert with the clerk of parliament to an extent that we see armed policemen forcefully removing elected opposition members from the well of parliament, the House of Representatives. I think that they force this current parliament begin for loss in legitimacy. And I use the word legitimacy deliberately because legitimacy, that the sovereignty of the people, now they guarantee legitimacy. And the sovereignty of the people as expressed in the ballot box in 2018, an APC majority in parliament, which means APC forget the opportunity for vote, forget the speaker. But you force the speaker. And after that, we see the executive use the court for remove elected members of parliament from their seats. I'm not going to go into the merits and demerits of the court action, the petitions, etc., etc. But they zero in on the fact that immediately after the court ruled against the APC sitting members of parliament, even without they not appeal the court decision, where they get right for appeal, and the law is that the seat for remain vacant until they listen to the appeal, we see parliament hurriedly swearing members of the SLPP for go sit down at parliament where them people and they now strangers in parliament. Strangers in the sense that they are not the direct elected representative of the people. So they are strangers sitting in the well of parliament. So this definitely don't make parliament the loss in legitimacy. And the legitimacy further weakened when we see a naked picture of the speaker being circulated on social media and Parliament not get the temerity and audacity for asking for step aside, for resign. And we see the same parliamentarians continue to subdue themselves to the speakership of somebody who don't dishonorably been posted. I mean, what did the person do, whether I right or whether I wrong? No, that is not the issue I'm talking about. The issue is our Speaker of Parliament, you picture naked like that on social media, doing things for warrant, you understand, a resignation. Or members of Parliament for call for a resignation. And then we look at how Parliament don't conduct itself. The way Parliament don't conduct itself, you know, it don't left a lot of people baffled. And when I talk about Parliament conducting itself, I also include we are members of the APC, we are the legitimate opposition in Parliament, but they refuse for function as a legitimate opposition in Parliament. Take, for instance, we own party members then back unanimously joined Parliament for support the imposition of a state of emergency without regulation. 1 year state of emergency without regulations.
Okay.
So I think
yeah, just finish your point, Mr. Divo, please.
When you look at what Honorable Tawadi talk about Parliament in terms of the complicity in corruption and in terms of Parliament failing in most of the oversight responsibilities, then definitely I will tell you, say, this current Parliament not live up to expectation.
Okay, many thanks, Mr. Divo. Famulem, that was the voice of Mr. Cornelius Divo, a former government minister under the erstwhile APC and Publicity Secretary, now living in exile in Banjul, the Gambia. Mr. Mengot, have you sorted your microphone?
Yeah, definitely. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, you're loud and clear, sir. And I want to take this question here to you, because I want to Fambule know say, Mr. Mengot is an expert in parliamentary affairs, just like how I really stress, expert in parliamentary affairs. 8 years of parliamentary experience inside the mother of all parliament, the British Parliament. So, Mr. Mengot, we've heard Mr. Cornelius Divo, although now you've been supposed to open this as an expert on parliamentary issues, but notwithstanding, we've heard Mr. Divo. What I want to let you deal with for Fambul, Mr. Mengot, is this. There are three main areas where I want to let you focus on just what Mr. Divo don't say, although not all be bordered on parliamentary affairs, because after we make the introduction, we try to draw a distinction between the concept of governance and politics, and everything, like Mr. Divo say, is centered around parliament. So the functions of the Sierra Leonean parliament was the question that I posed to you earlier, and I'll be one for let you help we for understand how this parliament they function or how it's supposed for function. In other words, the making of laws, the standing order, which brought about the state of public emergency where Mr. Divo touched on, very, very important. The amending and repealing of laws, if you like, we will talk about the INF, the 1965 Public Order Act, which was repealed by this sitting president, and the holding parliament to account. We'll bring that in name again, much now the center. Help we for understand all of this about the functions of government, please. And parliament, I mean.
Okay, Fambule mina kushe, my name na Victor Mengot. And as the host don't say, I get a lot of experience when I work at British Parliament. First, I work at the House of Commons. When I was lower house, then I work at the House of Lords. And the Parliament also now, most the Parliament now is centered around waiting happen at the British Parliament. We stand in order, even the rules, the procedures, the rituals. We will see Parliament, the start, then get Black Rod. It's all the same. But when you talk about Parliament, Parliament get 4 main functions. The first function, now for check and challenge government, what in government they do. Now we call it scrutiny function of Parliament. And for do that, they can do in 2 ways then. They can either do them now the general well of the or they can assign them to select committees. What do I mean by select committee? Select committee is a committee where they form in the Parliament, where you get 2 types of select committee, get 2 types of, you get the House committees then, where they deal with parliamentary affairs, the finance, the rule, thing for deal with conduct of members of Parliament, how you want to put bills, all that thing. And then you get each government department get a committee when they look after waiting that ministry or department to do. And that committee, they get 3 things the way they look into. And they look into the policy of the ministry when our waiting cabinet tell them for do. Then they look into administration, that is now how they operate. Then they look into finance, then how they spend government couple. So that check on government day, now one of the main functions of Parliament. Function of Parliament. Now for make and change law, I go into detail. How Parliament make law? Parliament make law 2 ways. It's either the government gets something where they want change. That's when now the government gets passed in a Parliament where responsible, where the leader of government now puts some Parliament say the government will make this law to a bill, right? And normally the government bill get priority over other bills. Then they get within a private member's bill. A private member's bill, like a bill where a private member something they way he feels strongly about, or something in constituents they want their Parliament change law. Like now this Parliament, we see where Dr. Yunkela been put a private member bill for deal particularly with the then salon people there where they call DC or where they out. So then in a private member bill. So it get for lobby for maker. So when the bill don't go Parliament for debate, it go through the various seats, the first reading, second reading, until the final agreement, then pass on to the president, where it become an act. And that bill there, where it don't turn an act, cannot be law. It not going to be law. Pass the president sign up. And that then called enactment. So that's how Parliament they make law.
Yeah.
Can somebody please mute their audio,
as
please?
soon as you come tomorrow after the meeting, I'll make sure that is done right away tomorrow.
The lady speaking, will you mute your microphone, please?
They might be here.
Okay, I have to remove her.
We'll try.
The word Parliament comes from the French word parler.
Yeah,
the
go on,
word
sir.
Parliament comes from the French word parler. What does parler mean in French to English? Parler na for talk. So them parliamentarians are people that will not vote from the different constituencies. Because when you take the Constitution says sovereignty belongs to the people.
Yeah.
So when we vote for somebody, we will vote for them, we expect them to go talk for we. To go talk thing where they are to. So thinking the way they do debate, something they wake up where everybody in a society, Parliament go say they want debate. I'll give you a recent example. One of the issues were on the Canal Salon, and not to this government, the issue for deal with land and land ownership. And under Salon, we get 2 kinds of land laws there. We get law where deal with customary law, the land ban at the one that we apply. The old law now, the land is vested in the chief, now the chief and then decide who.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Mengot, your line, really,
now
Mr. Mengot,
called a state land.
Okay, Mr. Mengot, you line really bad. I will take the conversation away from you for now.
That land you register under 2 people.
Yeah, you line really bad, and they see you banned with it. Yeah, Mr. Mengot, we hear you, but at the break, and this conversation is so important that people want to hang on to everything we say, sir. Because what you say, it's an expert opinion. Now you prefer to we, and people. It's important for let family get and clearly. Unfortunately, today you line the play up. Your bandwidth is low, so they affect the audio. We go try bring you back in again, or speak from there. I hear you again. Whether we can continue.
Well, in all the hear me now.
Yeah, go on, please. Mr. Mengot?
As I've been talk about the thing where people talk about this land issue, a serious issue at all. So like that now, recently we already speaker don't call the Minister of Land. So they can talk about this God business and land. Some man they say government they take in land. Some man they say they get problem for land. Let I explain. So things like land issue will affect everybody. Parliament will discuss it. They will call the minister come, you can tell them what they do with this land business, and they will make decision. The final work where Parliament get for do, and for money to government, how government they spend the money, and they can do in 2 ways. The committee, the way they monitor the different ministries, they can call any minister or heads of government for like explain how they spend money. But we get one way serious. We all depend now. Because the Auditor General, by extension, is an extension of Parliament. And the law, the Constitution, and the rights, for make sure say go check every government department how they spend. Because after us, and they decide about budget.
Okay. So, Mr. Mengot, I will have to take this away from you because it's really bad. It's really bad, sir. We'll come back to you later. Famulem, obviously, one of we guests, they have audio problem as a consequence of a low bandwidth. So the audio is actually poor, and we know they get, this very important thing where they try for send across to we. So let me move on, to our next guest. Where don't they wait patiently, Mr. Bashiru Vandi of the National Grand Coalition of Dr. Kande Yumkela. Bashiru, this question goes to you about Parliament as well. And the party that you belong to, where you can champion in cause all over social media, globally, and etc. So many people seem for a punch above in weight as they take on many heavy issues, to which sometimes I do watch your writings and listen to your conversation to a point where you think, say, even one of the largest political party, opposition political party, where happen for be the All People's Congress, the NGC, they do far better than they are. Enlighten we in this public fora as to how you party, the function inside Parliament, because there are many times when they have taken a blame for actions that either people expect them to take and they haven't taken, or when they take action, it seems like people are not happy with some of the actions that they do take in Parliament.
Okay, thank you very much for this great opportunity for, articulate and talk about the country and the politics of the country. But before I proceed, I want to join you, Mr. Moderator, for extend on behalf of the party condolences to my brother who passed away, Mr. French. I mean, personally, the man we myself don't come across, a very intriguing guy. I know him, so I just express we condolence, we sympathy towards the party. Towards Mr. French and his family as well. And I glad Mr. Prince, where you begin by trying to create a link between politics and governance. and the way we see them from your own perception, governance now an outcome of politics. So first, now politics before you get governance. If your perception of politics wrong, if your perception of politics mess up, automatically governance, therefore struggle. Why they say that? Because you see, politics, the definition of it is politics. Now simply, there are different types of politics. You get domestic politics, you get sporting politics, you get corporate politics. But what do they talk about now? Now national politics. So national politics to me, now simply the process of resolving the fundamental problems of society, of the nation. Now in politics for able. And for doing it in a way where they actually benefit all segments of society. So if your perception of politics not so idea, automatically when you go into governance, it will reflect. But if your perception from the onset, your perception of politics is very corrupt, it's contaminated. It's different from that view. If you see politics as whose side for go benefit yourself, no matter what they happen, governance will reflect that mentality. Now make me the talk say governance now an outcome of politics. So which brings me to what you will talk now. I mean, I don't listen to my brother Mr. Digo and to we expert Mr. Mengot. Mr. Mengot don't describe what is Parliament supposed to do, and it is quite clear. Already talk the oversight role of Parliament, the legislative role of Parliament for make laws, the representation of the people. Parliament in primary role now for represent the people, the interest of the nation. Parliament to me is the most powerful organ in governance because now then they make the laws, now then they actually act as a control over the executive. Now then are the eyes of the people. Now then we everything. So if they mess up, everything crumbles. So Parliament is very important. And that I get from Mr. Mengot in the scripture. Now, according to my brother, Mr. Digo, I listen to all the complaints that we make and the criticisms of the current Parliament. Quite in place. I mean, I don't go argue against that because they are facts, they happen. But you see, the problem will bring me to the definition of politics and connected to governance. What we don't get in Sierra Leone, and what we don't get in African politics, generally speaking, we then use things that global concepts, there we institutions that are the same as what we get abroad. We get Parliament, we get executive, we get ministries. But unfortunately, these organs, with politics, with Parliament, with governance, not operate in the way things supposed to be. So, Mr. Mengot in the scripture, order in place. But unfortunately, if you look at the history, up to now and today, now you see a consistent repetition of the same contamination of the working process of governance. Now, if they could get problem. Mr. Mengot, as he explained, Parliament supposed to be a place to say that they constructively and very effectively scrutinize the government. And that happened. If you look at history, the last governor, the last SLPP opposition as Parliament. In government, the SLPP opposition, sorry, the APC opposition, so that will beg them for pause. But I remember an Escoma editorial, they constantly they go in and out of they set themselves. No time for oppose the government, no time for scrutinize the government until Akamada was stepping and beg them for come hold the government to account. Can you imagine? The government they appeal to the opposition.
Okay, Mr. Bashiru, I'm not being intent for interject because I don't want any blame games here, but we operate with time. I just want to bring you back to the question because you've said many important things for deal with the other guests them. But with all due respect, the question is, you party in Parliament, Dr. Kande Young. If you get it, will you address that, please? Yeah.
Okay, fair. Time. So the permission only for sure say when the politics right, you get the governance right. So now, from the NGC point of view, with perception of politics, now the process when they use for solve the national problems.
Again, I will get for interject again, Bashiru. You watch this program simultaneously on gadgets on your TV or something. You have to bring the volume down to 0 because it interferes with with your conversation.
Okay, fine. So now, is it okay now?
It's better, yeah.
Okay, now reduce that a little bit. So now, so your perception from the beginning was to be correct. So we, as a party, right from the onset, with vision, Parliament is supposed to be whose side supposed to scrutinize the government, whose side, you, if you're the opposition, you they oppose policy where you they against, then you they propose. You know they just oppose, you they propose. You criticize the government, whose side you feel that the government they go wrong, then you support the government, whose side you feel that the government they go right. So that's how we stand. Now, so we see we believe in the operation of Parliament. Okay? So why is that important? Because not only through that, you go able to do your job honestly. Okay? When something happens, when you feel that this is against the interest of the nation, you criticize them. You tap out and criticize, and that's what they do. For example, we brought Mr. Cornelio Divo, he mentioned the forceful removal of the APC MPs. That was wrong. What is the role of the NGC in that? That was against the wishes of the people because people voted for those MPs. So removing them forcefully was wrong. So what do we do? We were at the forefront for condemn such act. In fact, we refer to it as, an act of a very undemocratic and what we call junta democracy. It was wrong. So that's what we will fulfill. We stood up against something very undemocratic. So we oversight room, we play. Also in Parliament, when we get issues like, for example, the McKinney incident, who said policeman then go kill we brothers and sisters of McKinney, we stood up in Parliament and joined with APC brothers for opposing. Why? Because we found out the police exceed the power, the constitutional power, then go beyond that and use them disproportionately. We condemn that. Also, Tom Kolimba, in the by-elections, where the violence and the vote rigging will occur, we join with the APC, condemn and even decide to boycott elections because of that. However, also, at times when it is necessary to support policies, if you feel in the interest of the nation. For example, when the government comes up with the free education policy, that is correct, that's a good policy, because we know that education is the key to success. We supported it with qualified support. When we come up with the Commission of Inquiry for Fight Corruption, corruption is a poison of our system. We oppose them. Sorry, we support in principle, although the application itself questionable. But again, we stood up for that. So in other words, what I'm trying to say, because we view of politics, it stems from the mentality say, you don't go to Parliament, you don't go into governance, not for what fetch for yourself, not for what fetch for your pocket, not for what line for your pocket, but for stand for the truth. And the truth sometimes means you support what you feel today in the interest of the government, and they oppose what is it against the government.
Okay,
the combination of the two, now they lead, now they create a good, effective, and functioning parliament. And that's
okay. Okay, Mr. Bashiru, many thanks for that. I'll take this straight to Mr. Devo, because on this particular point of view, what they try for arrive at and for let we send to Fambulem. Now, for let we see the strength and the weakness of government in particular aspect of governance, where Mr. Mengot will deal with, unfortunately, bad audio, but the two other guests them in person of the last speaker, Mr. Bashiru and Mr. Devo, don't touch on. But Mr. Devo, I bring the issue of governance again to you, which borders on the rule of law where Bashiru, you cannot touch on, and how you go look at this rule of law. And I ask you this question because I know you're very critical of government, and part of you don't refer to issues already where happen, where now the awful site where happen inside Parliament, where the NGC brother do agree with you. But other aspects of governance, how do you also see it in terms of how this government they operate? I want to look at the strength and weakness in terms of the government. It's not everything that will be bad. Unfortunately, Fambule, we supposed to forget Mr. Emmanuel Ali. This is why I'm being, kind of trying to be economic with the questions that I want to ask. Instead of hard ball and hard punching, I get for restrict myself because the man way for defend the other side, unfortunately, has not come yet. With the hope say it might turn up. If it doesn't, probably it's due to constraints, but it did give we word say it did come. So back to you, Mr. Devo, in terms of governance, waiting at the strength and the weakness of this government, it's not all doom and gloom. There must be some highlights. Will you agree, sir?
Well, of course, it is not all doom, but in some areas, it is very disastrous. Definitely, I will tell you that for sure. You see, governance now a multifaceted, not to one person, not to one institution responsible. Parliament has its own role to play. The executive has its own role to play. The media, the police, the judiciary, and even citizens, civil society, everybody gets a role for play, in the system of governance. And I'm going to tell you about participatory governance. In fact, the concept now is not just governance. Then they qualify the governance by GAM, the prefix participatory governance, So when you talk about participatory governance, it is all inclusive. And I will tell you for sure, say, not so we all don't play with roles then. Not so we all don't play with roles them effectively. You see, I agree with my brother. I'm not to compare APC and NGC in Parliament because NGC don't do anything different from APC members of Parliament. We still members of Parliament. They support government, waiting and feel say right, and then they oppose waiting and feel say wrong. But certain things then where they border on the generality, where people and they expect Parliament, members of Parliament for live up to expectation, they don't feel the people in, particularly in allowing government forget a state of emergency for 12 months without regulations. There are so many examples where one can give where both APC and NGC members of Parliament and C4C, the opposition generally, don't feel the people of this country. We see a situation where the constitution very clear for say, any agreement, therefore can go Parliament first before government sign it. We see government sign an agreement with the mortgage with International Gateway, the Lunge International Airport, to a particular group on the pretext of carrying out an extension project. After they don't sign that agreement, now both APC and NGC members of parliament, then go applaud the agreement in parliament and rubber stamp them, because not to ratify that one, then a rubber stamp. Then rubber stamp them, you know. But going further, I think the government itself don't renege on inconstitutional obligations. And what's very important for let people know in this whole aspect of governance, how it is delicate. Now the fact that we get international referees them, we suppose for rate governance in performance, people in performance. But we see a situation where people they present false results on their ratings than they. For example, the United States Department, the recent report on human rights issues in Sierra Leone.
How are you? Yeah, I don't have the key. Okay. Yeah.
Eva, will you mute your mic, please? Yeah, go on, sir. Sorry about that.
The state say during the year 2019, they not get no report of police using excessive force for suppress political opponents then. Well, in that very year, the 2019, now police go for a tear gas in the APC office, we cause we for loss we administrative chairman exactly 1 year after, because from that day, we come on at the office, they not going to the office again, 1 year after he died, the late Comrade Bash Conte. And on that particular day, Namina be the very person we call the American embassy. I talk to the political attaché, how you call him, the guy called Sheriff, again on the phone, he talked to the Secretary General, and then the United States Department, they put in the report for 2019 for see. They don't get no report of police using excessive force for suppress opposition. This just they confirm the concerns where people will be also raised when the MCC been qualified this government for say they get a very good record in terms of civil liberties and political rights. So if you want to make a zero on the rule of law,
yeah,
how fair this government has performed in that area in terms of ensuring and consolidating participatory good governance, I will tell you, see, there are so many incidents where we don't see the outright violation of the fundamental rights of the citizens. For this year alone, 2020, over 120 unidentified bodies, demand them, the body, they say they gather in a salon, a free town. Nobody, no one they go report say not see in person. Newspaper, no one they write or television write say them bank person, then kill an accident, they don't go left in body in a mortuary. Hospital records not they prove say people in Campbell they left them picking that they on away left farm. Then we see this government don't preside over the burial of over 120 Sierra Leoneans. They say they are unidentified people then will die. Some die in a street, some die in a hospital. But when you check their records today, or in a functioning democracy to say, if person die in a street, police go put it out a notice. If body then a mortuary where they not claim, government mortuary or whosoever the body, they go put out a notice. if motorcar bank person run, eats and run, now news making, what you call that one, the way, you understand? Now news making occurrence where newspaper go write and television go write, but we not see none of them today.
So make a push back on that little bit, because somebody just right now in the chat room, some were homeless and vagrants. People die like this all over the world, which is true, and I sure say you will acknowledge that. But you equally they make a claim, and that seems for the challenge the government on this particular issue, because when such things happen, there should be records of which they talk about: police notice, announcement, fambulem or hospital record. Are you privy to them things they are say government not do any of these, Mr. Divo?
Of course, basically the information given out by the coroner, the man when I lead the team for go do the burial, it become very clear. Record study. You understand?
Right.
So, even as I agree that people are homeless, of course, homeless people they die at the street, yes, of course. Some were vagrants, yes. But how many tell we don't they go beat person if he thief? They beat until they kill him. Newspaper must write that in news. We not see that kind of news. If somebody they fed, person chuka, is stubborn, if for he die, all my own commodity. Newspaper must write that news. We not see that kind of news. We not see on a social media. We not see on the regular media. So this gives reason for concern, and also they demand a coroner's inquest. And this is where Parliament comes to play, and where Parliament, they fail in their responsibility.
So make I take this point from you, Mr. Divo, and can go to the parliamentary expert. Here is where Parliament fails, and here is where Parliament fails for take up a responsibility. Mr. Mengot, we dey talk about issues in terms of governance and how related these things are with the way Parliament is supposed for conduct itself. And you don't hear every one of we guests, Mr. Cornelius Divo, they say, this is a negligence on the part of Parliament, and this is not something we're supposed for take up, but they are letting the people down. You as the parliamentary expert at this particular place, will you open up, this responsibility where Parliament is supposed to take in terms of this governance structure? How they're supposed to play this out for make them wholesome functioning so that it benefit the nation and subsequently its people?
Okay. Fambule, do you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Hello?
We hear you loud and clear,
now,
Mr. Mengot, yeah.
You remember I talked about this, the role of what you call oversight committee, or you call them tech committee, right? When at the committee, the way they monitor within the happen. Okay. The committee, under the terms of reference, where it gets, the committee is supposed to select, according to the terms of reference, and then they call standing orders. Standing order are the thing the way Parliament give, within the rules and procedure. Where in one case, now standing order 73, right? And that standing order there, it give committee then the responsibility of pick any subject where they go able to discuss. Normally, Usami could say we Parliament fail, then committee then did. Now, because most of the time they're reactive, they're not proactive. Because what I mean by that? But the committee, therefore, because the member they are in the Parliament, then they for represent the interest of people. Just like what they talk to on this particular subject. Parliament say therefore able listen to them people. Now make sure we call a representation of the people's act. Where you voters then they go tell you say, we not agree of this thing. So the committee then get right for inquire into anything, not just finance, even the state of welfare of the system, the bread and butter system, and all the rest of it. So since we talk about what happened in this government, I will give one particular thing where parliaments do. Actually, affect people in our country. Under our constitution, the government acts, we get what you call a state of emergency. So when this Ebola bin come, government go to parliament, they say they forgive the president right for let it do the state of emergency. And this state of emergency means say certain things that the government will do for make sure say they're able to arrest this problem. This is the first step we've been getting. It be happen under Ebola. Right? But one of the things will happen, the state of emergency, now a statutory instrument. What do I mean by a statutory instrument? The main law in our country, the primary law in the constitution. Inside our constitution, it gives the president the right for let it go seek parliamentary permission, for let then get a public state of emergency. Which the president will go, he go do that. When he go do that, and debate in a parliament. And one of the things where I think the parliament failed in that situation, because when you put a statutory instrument, which is an amendment or an extension of a law, it get forget what you call explanatory notes. So in other words, even though parliament they give the president that power, government for explain waiting them power then they mean for the ordinary people. Then. For instance, like in an example, during the state of emergency, when people when them get a lockdown and freedom, we know say what water shortage day. Some people there where they go get water, right? We see how the security forces they handle them, right? The other two people they grumble with when they get coffee order. Some man say they go work early, you understand? And if you get for go work, it affects the time coffee order can catch up. And the other while I will be get, like them people then where they then call back on Wellington, we see say where people them they to lie, then they actually put some man inside window for go na transport, then they not go well. So when government go, they say they do this power. They can therefore explain, say, what it means for people there. How they go exercise the power there. It's not been clear. So that way the government promised, say, because all the parliamentarians they agree, so okay, because the emergency law give president this power. And then promise, say, they will come back, can explain what in the rules of engagement, but what I mean by that, how people therefore behave during this state of emergency and waiting government therefore do. But then it don't happen. So recently, and when they don't get that state of emergency, they get for last for 90 days according to the constitution. Yeah. After the 90 days, the government get for go back to parliament for let it extend them. So when they go back this time, when they debate them, listen to them. Now that's when they present the rules. So now in the parliamentary act say, how come in not be not give the rules all this time? So if they may make promise to parliament, they not follow them up, they allow things to happen, I think say they fail the people. Yeah, okay. Then on one side, where parliament fail the people. Fail the people. So again, I want to cut this over to Bashiru, because this is where those of us monitoring the annals of social media and other responsible channels are saying that the NGC leader, this is where he fell short. And there's no if and but about this anyway, I'm not blaming him, but the NGC leader did come out to take responsibility that even though na Ingiden guarantees them there at the time, but the government let them down because there was an understanding, just like Mr. Mengot said, that they will come back. But unfortunately, when they come back, now something else, they can't talk. Family, just a quick reminder, this net, we are having a conversation here, and this conversation begin quite a while ago about the soul of we nation. Most times
we not agree, but it is a good thing for let we disagree for agree, just because of the common denominator we happen for be the country Sierra Leone, green, white, and blue. So we dey talk to people we know what and they talk about. Unfortunately, we're not able to forget the SLPP side of the story, but I want to make it clear that an invitation was extended to a representative of the SLPP in person of somebody with very much did in the media than Mr. Emmanuel Ali. It could be for some constraints because it did a bush as we talk, you know, they tend to some family business, although they make the excuse for him. But maybe I will read from him later, but we haven't had him on as yet, and the program is deep into broadcast. So I take this to you, Bashiru, and the same parliament issue. Now I want to talk about, but I want to shift to the economy before I bring we guess them, not guess them, but we observe them into the picture. Mr. Bashiru, the government of Sierra Leone don't hold something what they call a presidential retreat. And the chief minister, Naina, be the architect of this presidential retreat. Somebody need to mute their phone, for goodness sake. I will have to expel people from the chat room. Yeah. Okay, I have to. So, a bit one of we guess them noise they make. Bashiru, could that be you?
No.
Not to you, Mr. Divo, your background low quiet. Yusuf Bangura, who's Yusuf? Me mute Yusuf. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Fambulem, sorry. We they encourage observers then at the back room, and at some point we they bring them come in. But observers therefore understand say there's a responsibility on their part, not so because they know they actively partake. So then go left their mics on mute and all the noise they come on at the background, they interfere. Let's keep this thing more professional, please. I don't want to expel or observer them off, please, please. Okay, so like I been say, Mr. Vandy. This they come up from one of we guests because I don't mute all of the observer there.
I think you should not mute all of them. Just mute everybody.
Yeah, when I'm ready for talk here, then when you're ready for answer, they are going to mute you. Very good one, Mr. Mengot. Thank you very much, sir. So like I've been to say, and this question they go to Mr. Bashiru. For 2 years plus in a row, the president been get something we then call a presidential retreat. In other words, now the economy now want to move on to because we talk about the strength and the weaknesses. And Fambulen, just a reminder, this is the year 2020 in retrospect, where they talk about the government of Sierra Leone, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we look at this presidential retreat where they hold for a number of years now, probably, I believe, 3 years. And the reason again why they bring this count up, because I want to begin with the Millennium Challenge Corporation, which is the MCC, which is a United States foreign aid agency, where in 2019 positively assessed we country Sierra Leone under the leadership of this current president that a day in control of corruption. And Mr. Devo, of course, disagree. He just talk and just know. And part of what Mr. Mengot say also bring this into question, but within a parliamentary jurisdiction. There was a ruling where justly said the Brigadier BO, ex-Brigadier BO government, they invest in people, so they get an impasse mark, then we guarantee say they provide democratic rights, where one of we guests try for say, no, this is not the case. Mr. Bashiru, there's a representation by your party in parliament. And like I've been saying earlier on from the first question to you, Dr. Kande Yumkela, although a full-person parliamentary seat to get, seem for the punch above in weight. But these are issues which are very challenging because sometimes they get for side with government. When I saw things that happen inside parliament, catch me back, I catch you back. How you see the fundamentals of the economy and this Millennium Challenge Corporation? What's your view from an NGC perspective. Bash, are you there? Okay. Bash, you can unmute your phone now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So you got now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. You first question we've engaged just now regarding the issue of the state of emergency. It's very important for that to clarify because that's not a major issue where they come up all the time. And I just want to say, I come to the question on the economy and the question we asked right. But yeah, now we don't already talk say, where you begin with politics and governance. I don't tell you say, for let governance work, your perception of politics get to be correct. And we want to do the NGC, we make sure say everything we do in governance, in politics, is connected to the ideology. And what is the ideology? Always the country first. So you see, everything they do, all the questions they ask me, all the answers they give, it always connected to that ideology of country first. I mean, everything they do, opposition, support, in anything, it comes back to that policy. So we all type of politics is based on an ideology. So let me I start this whole thing by saying, you get from there a base, an ideology, a principle where they work with. That should be always connected to whatever they do in the parliament. So when it comes to that state of emergency, what will happen? What will guide the action of we leader and we party? Now we ideology. We ideology say country first. So we got an incident where very serious, now corona, now an epidemic, it'll kill. So we don't feel say now it's time for play politics. So they play the facts we deal with, practicalities. Just like we rightly say, sir, we don't just give blank check to the government. No. We acknowledge the fact that the government has to have powers in such circumstance for act. That's not a fact that it happens everywhere. But that a qualified support. We're not going to say, yes, okay, do what you want, Mr. President, we're not going to no problem. No. We acknowledge the fact that they need emergency power. However, we have a confirmation and agreement say that they need to come back to Parliament for let Parliament regulate the conduct of the government during the emergency. We had that agreement. Set in stone. So now, if the government go back and renege and break that promise, not only responsibility, we did our role. And as I said, not a blank check, it was a qualified support based on the government coming to Parliament. So we got to be the expect. And on the basis of that understanding, we offer with support. So this idea when they talk, say, oh, you go support state of emergency, you want, not to say be. So that, what does that mean? In that situation, we don't just say, oh, becoming an opposition, oh, maybe this opportunity for attack this government for program because we want to make the government look bad. No, we put the nation first. The protection of life is paramount. Now, because of that principle, we decide to be very careful and constructive. So we try to get a complete picture, empower the government, or then empower Parliament at the same time. So the government going back on that promise, not a young problem. You cannot blame NGC for the action or for the conduct of the government. And this comes to the same point what they talk say. We've never had a government in Sierra Leone or a parliament that respects the will of the people, that respect constitutional rule, that respect democracy. APC and SLPP are two parties who have been notorious for great disrespect for constitution, and that we see that all the things they talk was so. So let me answer that to that question, sir. Now coming back, you say the question about the retreat of the governance and the MCC report. Listen, we all adults in here, like we brother Mr. Divo talk. The experience of Sierra Leoneans, we all know, is much more accurate than what the MCC they talk or any international report. The experience of we the Sierra Leoneans during elections is much more accurate than international report. So in a way, what the type of say, sometimes we don't need somebody else to tell you what is going on in our country. We know what's going on. We know that there's a massive constitutional abuse of human rights. We know that there's a massive endemic and corrupt system in the country. We know that. We don't need ACC for telling we. We don't need Commission and Inquiry for telling we. We don't need international report for telling we. We know that we governance system is rotten to the core.
Okay, Mr. Bashiru, you still get time. Sorry for breaking you in mid-flow. There are a couple of times where I want to interject, but I want to let you continue with the flow. But doesn't it seem ironical, like Mr. DeVoe condemned the MCC awarding or on that basis, then they say the criteria or the fundamentals be wrong. And you party, according to you, support them because of nationhood. But here you go now, the same thing where they make the government qualify or being nominated for the awarding day. Now, you outline so they appear for fall short of being nominated because they don't meet the criteria.
No, sir. You missed the point. I don't tell you say.
Tell me the point, please.
Look, all the major issues where they happen in our government. I don't say whose side we for criticize. We don't criticize them. We don't base for criticism on international report. I'm not telling you say. The point with the MCC report is this: why would I argue say whether or not where the MCC report accurate or what they go on? Me, they tell you say we Sierra Leoneans, this panel, we know the truth of what they go on in our country. We know the history as any international report. I'm pointing that to me. You follow?
Okay.
So in other words, I don't need to wait for an MCC report for nobody to go to Sierra Leone. I don't need for wait for a commission of inquiry for not say the system corrupt. I don't need for wait for auditor report for not say the economic managed system of the country is fraudulent. And the point what I got to make, we know that already. So now, we party in the parliament. We conduct it purely connected to the way of thinking about politics. So we conduct politics in a way where they reflect on what is right for the people. What is the interest of the nation? Now that's what we focus on. So therefore, when they ask me about what do you know the party stands on the MCC report, for let you know what is the party stands, look at the conduct of the party on all major issues. Now that is for look at. Forget about the MCC report. Focus on what we did say the parliament on all major issues where they come up.
Are you asking me to forget something as major as the MCC report, which qualifies the government, which you are now criticizing that they don't meet a requirement? Are you not criticizing? Mr. Bashiru? Are you not criticizing the government on the points that you are making now? Are you not?
No, I'm saying. Now your question is okay. Your question is said what is my opinion on the MCC report? I don't tell you say. The MCC report qualified the government on A, B, C, or D. Fair enough. But my point is, overwhelmingly, the negatives are there for all to see. And these negatives are an outcome of a chain of events, whether they go throughout history up to this day. Not so, we don't use to a system of mediocrity, poverty, corruption, economic system. So these things are consistent. So I'm going to just can't begin to rely or base my opinion on Sierra Leone issue on one MCC report. And I point that if you be asked me before this MCC report for give an account of what we think about the system, I would have said exactly what they say now. So the MCC report, in other words, has not changed my opinion about Sierra Leone, about the system, about the governance. The governance in Sierra Leone with a history of notorious corruption and constitutional abuse and neglect of the people, no respect for the constitution, no respect for law, autocracy, despotic governance. That's what they get. So I'm not sure which report come out before, now, or in the future. That is the fact. Okay. So in other words, I don't want to be drawn into limiting the view on what the MCC report say. Because as far as we're concerned, I am an me, you, and Mr. Divo, we are experts in what's going on in our country. And what's going on in our country is this. We have had 60 years of backwardness, 60 years of corruption, 60 years of misrule, 60 years of poverty, 60 years of unemployment. That is the fact. That is the most accurate report, far more accurate than MCC report.
Okay, Mr. Bashir, many thanks, for those points, which I believe were well made. I'll go straight to Cornelius. The Julius Maada, His Excellency Julius Maada BO government paid. This is not part of the qualification. We make them meet this MCC criteria. We make them they name them, and this goes back to 2019. By the way, this is a process we can take time. So now people that we can investigate, although there are question marks. But one of the things that the way the His Excellency President BO government they claim is 1.2 billion of domestic debt, which your party, the All People's Congress, left behind, was paid by this current government, the SLPP. Okay, and another thing we make the, some of the conditions we make them meet this criteria, is this president, the current president, launched the first blockchain and decentralized digital platform under the National Civil Registration Authority, NCRA. Things that I believe say you're very vast with. Throw some lights on this, Cornelius. What's your opinion on this one, and how you think say you participate, and from which light?
Yeah. Thank you very much again, my dear brother. But before I respond to your question,
sure, sir.
Make just one or two clarifications.
Please feel free to do so.
I see my elder and senior, Mr. Mengo, and also I see Mr. Bashiru Vandi. They zero on the fact that the failure of the SLPP government for present the regulations of the state of emergency to Parliament, and that now the government deceive Parliament. I be also hear Mr. Mengo, they make it very clear as to what the Constitution prescribe.
Yeah.
The Constitution say, we dey get state of emergency for 90 days. After which, the government, they come back to Parliament for ask whether they for extend them. But in this circumstance, forget about the regulation. We see with members of Parliament, they unanimously support the imposition of a state of emergency for 1 year, 12 months. Not 90 days, 12 months. They don't endorse states of emergency for 12 months before they expect government for counter regulation. And I think that is where Parliament failed. And you talk about qualifications for MCC, the paying of domestic debt, and the blockchain for ensure say civil registration go digital.
Yes, sir.
First of all, the idea for less civil registration go digital, a decision taken by the ECOWAS community for sure say all ECOWAS states for good. And that decision was taken in the early 2000s. I'm not to get the specific, no. But I will tell you with authority for say, it is a decision of the ECOWAS that all countries now ECOWAS forget a civil registration process with digital. And the ECOWAS, we don't support we as a member state in that direction. We be expecting the 2018 voter registration card. In fact, it not for be a voter registration card, it may for be a civil identity card which will enable you to make you vote. But for other reasons, then we perhaps go consume more time for explain why it not happen that way. not be happy that way. So whatever this current government do now for progress that ECOWAS mandate day, it's the step in the right direction. And I also feel, say, the payment of domestic debt, that governance in continuity. Any government where you come, because governance na continuity, you get for ensure say the debt the way the government incur during the tenure, you get for offset then debt then if you get issues with their money then that is why you can take them matters then to the corruption commission, or as this government may likely do, they institute a commissions of inquiry. But all of these things very much connected to the management of public finance. Because when you talk about the Office of the Auditor General and in functions, you talk about the Anti-Corruption Commission. These are all institutions then we established by law. They help Parliament in the oversight responsibility for ensure the efficient management of public finance. Well, I want to draw people their attention, say, the government may have paid 1.2 billion domestic debt, and that qualified them for MCC. Well and good, we all look towards that, although some of we believe back, say, this whole idea of MCC now a new colonialist mentality, still hinging on domestic and on donor funds for make you able for do things the way you're supposed to do for your people, then basic things the way you're supposed to do for your people, then because things like water, things like electricity, these are basic things the way you need to do for your people, then. And it is disheartening that in this generation, we still get politicians them where they constitute government and where they believe say, therefore continue for rely on donor assistance for provide basic services for the people then. But when you look at the management of public finances, I don't think say this government don't do very well in that particular area. And that links me also to you talk about control of corruption. You see, this government, when it came in 2018, one thing first we tell people them, they say,
only if you are on YouTube mic, yeah? On YouTube microphone.
Yes, you get
okay,
me now.
Fine. Yeah, loud and clear. Sorry about that.
Okay, good. So this government, when they can, they say they don't meet nothing. They say they don't meet nothing whatsoever. Now, the kitty that they inherited an economy where they are intensive care, an economy where broke. Definitely, I don't think say an economy where broke, you go able for misappropriate, or as the Auditor General state that we go able forget money missing amounting to over 150 billion euros here and there and there and there, because economy we broke, money no dey. But if you meet economy where people Auditor General are able for say either because people are not pay withholding tax, or either because people are able for provide supporting documents for the procurement transactions or other financial transactions, or either because councils pay sitting fees to absentee members. All of these things amounting to millions of millions of millions, and billions of billions of billions missing public finance. Just say money day. So which means that's what this government be the talk say they inherit a broken economy. They're not correct. And similarly so, This government accused the former APC government of egregious corruption, in the words of the chief minister. But when you look at it, then do a GTT report, and in that GTT report, then say in 10 years, now this money APC don't thief. But then we can see, say, in the Auditor General report, in just 2019, we will go attribute every aspect pay from pay to pay rape from January to December under their control. We can see, say, the money we lost, if they were added 10 years, the money, it passed the money with APC, when I say APC for 10 years.
Okay, Cornelius. Okay.
So zeroing down on my point is that this government not only prove well in the management of public finance. And whilst the Anti-Corruption Commission, they make some progress when the press release, so they see, then they recover billions of stolen money, when they present to the president. But perhaps what will demystify the public, that if they're able to present a full spreadsheet of who than they pay, they recover stolen money there.
I think that's a fair point, Cornelius, and I will take that from you and take us straight to Mr. Mengot before I introduce the people in the back room. So people in the back room will soon be prepared, here for offer an opinion, and I want to see the conversation we go so far. So Mr. Mengot, it will be a good practice that even though we see the Anti-Corruption Committee or Commission headed by Honorable Mr. Ben Kaifala, they retrieve money there, they understand say money, then they go pay undercover, and on top cover, overground. But the bottom line is monies are being recovered. But it will be a good thing for we see a spreadsheet outlining all these monies that have been collected. Would you agree with that? And outside Parliament companies, because again, now Parliament, you've been to talk about SO 73, which are standing orders, section 93.5 of the 1991 Constitution. How does the Constitution come into all of this, Mr. Mengot? Mr. Mengot, are you there, sir? Oh, we missed this serious conversation, when Mr. Mengot supposed for the way in. Mr. Mengot, can you hear me, sir? Okay, he seems not to be hearing me. So let us bring with background. Mr. Jallo, you hear me? Mr. Jallo?
Yes, I hear you, Mr. Kroma. I hear you.
Okay, brilliant. Just before I come to you, Fataba Dembi, would you just say something so can hear you, please? Unmute your mic and just say hello, because I just signed you on.
Yeah, I'm back. Hello. Can you all hear me?
Okay, Mr. Mengot, I want to let you hold on right there so they bring the same question back to you. Or we don't hear from Fataba Dembi, and Mr. Jallo and somebody else. I think we'll get 4 people on the background. Una hold on right there at the camp for can get una thoughts. Mr. Mengot, did you hear the last question, sir? Mr. Mengot? Okay, they have problems, serious problem with Mr. Mengot tonight. So, Mr. Jallo.
I'm back.
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you, Mr. Mengot. Did you hear the last question, sir?
Yes, I did, about this idea of being transparent and putting out
in terms of the ACC, put the information all in one spreadsheet. So instead of we hear bits and pieces of here and there, 10 billion yonder, 15 billion yonder, why not compute all of this into one spreadsheet, which gives the process of accountability? And I want to bring Parliament inside of this, SO 73, select committees, Article 95.1, 1991 Constitution. How does all of this fit into this particular thing where Mr. Devo talked about?
Okay, let's go back, because as Mr. Devo said, governments are a continuous process. If we remember, when the first time we Sierra Leone been trying to get into this MCC, and two things happened with the last government, because some of the criteria we didn't use for see openness in government. The last government been passed an act in Parliament when Access to Information Act. Yes, that Access to Information Act, it means say any Sierra Leonean get rights to ask any ministry or departmental agency, including the ACC, of information where not affect state security. So if we been to follow that act, people learn for ACC for able put then get website, the Anti-Corruption Commission, and for able put that information of Uda and Uda don't pay pandemic money where they collect. Yeah. Similarly, any Sierra Leone, and I think that's what people for hearing now, let them know about this Right to Access Information Act. Because when you get your MP, now they talk for you in a Parliament. If you want any information, because you get the Right to Access Information Commissioner, if you want any information where you know you get, notify your MP, let it raise in the House of Parliament. If you raise in the House of Parliament, according to, even you get select committee where they deal with it, then powers, they can call the Anti-Corruption Commissioner, let it put all the information there in the open, and it should be in the public domain. So these are some of the things that Parliament should, because when Parliament pass law, then for monitor that law, they're not for just pass it. Myself here can give a personal example of where they do government work. Where I go for go do government work, when I go to some MDA them, ask them for information where by law, that information therefore become available. They refuse to give me. So until we go back to full implementation of, because we get the Right to Access Commissioner. And when you ask for that information, they're supposed to give you within 15 days or say why they're able to give you. So if we, the citizens, not get the information, we're not able to judge government in performance.
I will call you back. I will practice now.
The next thing.
Go on, sir.
The next thing we'll get for look at, this government came with a very good idea when they established the Department of Science, Technology, and Information, which is good. One thing we expect them for they do by now, then for make sure every ministry and departmental agency get a functioning website. This is a digital age. We should move to e-government, which means we want information, you go to the government site, it will be available.
Yeah, but Mr. Mengot, again, pardon me for the interjection, because this is quite an interesting point we raise. The country we come up from, there is a slogan we can say action pass intention. Yeah. And in politics, we know for score political points, people can just talk. Politicians can just talk. Manifestos, are decorated, looking brilliant like that shining team pantap the hill. But then it's not, it not get any substance at all. And time and again, both in the past and in the now, we continue to see such things. So the E thing where they talk about, so it was spoken of, but then when it comes to practice, good practice, the elements are not there because you and a man will understand policy. For talk about policy, for generate them, make them before you implement them. Now processes and procedures where you can always talk about. If they are lacking, then I mean that's just a white elephant they call them, and it sounds like political talking points. Could some of these, not asking you directly for answer, represent, this kind of thing where they try for sort of bring up? How does it benefit with people when I just talk?
Okay, I'll give an example because we always relate to this. Within the last speaker, the golden discussion, because it talked about the ECOWAS requirements for information. One of the things even this government for try for do, yes, is that under ECOWAS law, under the protocol and treaty for free movement of citizens, as of 2019, every ECOWAS citizen no need passport for move from country to country, from Salon to Guinea or Liberia, right? You need a biometric identity card. It became effective in January 2019, yeah? Mm. So these are some, and all lenses, and when you get a biometric identity card, it means data. You get DSCI, you get a one-stop where you go get data of every citizen, we link to in national identity, in birth certificates, in NACIT registration, where it go use for all that processing. So if we get a Department of Science, Technology, and Innovation, I would think say that is a priority, because we are talking about security issue and also the rights of ECOWAS citizens enshrined in the protocol for move within boundaries unhindered. Because we all know almost passport costs. Not all man able to get passport. All man go able to get national identity. We are able to the problem when they come from boundary problem. We talk about Yenga. We get some people in Salon where they don't know the difference between Guinea and Sierra Leone, because we boundary there are open boundary. So having that, because in management, what you cannot measure, you cannot manage. These are things that Parliament should take up.
Yeah.
Or make sure say we know who say everybody there, waiting a registration number and all the rest of it. And it will help yourself during this time we'll get this COVID for contact tracing. Because if the government get the database, it go easier for us to manage people there. Also easier, like we see say during this COVID, I mean, they save money get people there. Government give different NACSA give. So, and small drop in kind side, would I forget money, would I not forget money? But if the government get database, where you give somebody money, it will link directly to that person in identity, in unique identity. So if audit commission come, then go able to know say, this is not the list of people that will get the money, because we get on the database. So then it's very important. This is one thing we will forgive priority. And why they say so, we soon they can go into election.
Okay, I want to hold your thoughts. The largest mark going into election, because I also understand from your writings and many public, pronouncements, this is not something way close to your chest, where you can always try for highlight on that we will go into election soon. And waiting this election mean, along with the 60th anniversary of the Republic, is something way massive. I'll come back to you for let you address that. Ladies and gentlemen on the platform today, we get this special program in which we get distinguished guests and they try to articulate issues pertaining to the matters of state. We're at a critical juncture. Many times we've been at this particular position now with almost 60 years history in our country, but every time it seems like more difficult than ever before. But until we continue to have that kind of conversation there, it will always be a difficult task. But these conversations, I can assure you, has begun. And there comes then and now where information we know is power. And that we try for do now. If you just listen to the last speaker and the previous speakers then before the last, you can see that information they are putting out there, something that most of us did not know. And if we not listen, will not know. And if we do listen, it will empower we, because we know now say we can go petition with parliamentarians then. We know if we're not satisfied with certain things, such as the way the ACC, they conduct itself, we can go to parliamentarians then and go ask for a vote of no confidence, things like that. Or Mr. Mengot, they give citations and references, places the way you can look at, including Mr. Bashiru and Mr. Cornelius DeVoe. So information is power, and that's what we believe now. We guests then at the background where they wait patiently, and let's try bring them in, let them self-participate before we read small comments in the chat room. In the meantime, I want to allow we share this because this is important for others for Yeri. Okay. We've been expect Mr. Emmanuel Ali, but we've far gone past the time. I don't think he will come again. But we go Yeri later. Why? But I just want to make Fambulen for understand. that Mr. Emmanuel Ali will have represented the views of the ruling party, the Sierra Leone People's Party, and those of us who are Sabian on social media, we know say they get uncompromising views in stance about the ruling party. You see them clearly as the party where they can make up the mess where Mr. Cornelius DeVoe in party left behind. You see Mada Bio as the appointed one, the chosen one, where they can shape and direct this country for going the right path. Of course, we know from Mr. DeVoe in pronouncements, then he fundamentally disagree. I wish Mr. Ali would have been here. Unfortunately, we'll have to deal with what we have. Mr. Mohamed Jalo, you still there, sir?
Yes, Ade.
Okay, brilliant. Many thanks for being in the background. You know, they listen to all of these conversations patiently. But you see, for persevere is a good virtue. Patience is a good virtue. Now you've got your turn. You don't hear always you would on the talk. Waiting are your own view about all of these conversations where they get both from you, political party affiliation, but generally from a Sierra Leonean perspective. What do you think, sir?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuma. Then I believe this platform I've been on the follow for a long time. I tell you thank you for the wonderful job we are doing. No? Let God bless you, and especially let God bless and bring prosperity for the country. Then let me just go to the points. You know, let me start winning into the very crucial side. You know, this government they don't take the people in for a ride, and they don't take it for granted. On many occasions, these governments, they don't invite them and they get repetitive them for coming at them platform here for answer issues them. When they get any repetitive for come for answer the issues here, you know, we get ministers in another country, then in a different platform and social media, then they see pertinent issues them where they go on, where they need for respond, and then they respond to people. Let them say, then they serve the people. Then these governments then give them the mandate for since 2018, where they give them the mandate for then come with a message of a new direction. The new direction, for instance, the issue of state of emergency in a parliament, I believe say now they are the best people then for can answer this very important issue. You know, we just pick up scapegoats like what him me able big brother Cornelius Navo. They try for shift the goalpost, they try for blame leadership or someone else, like Dr. Kande Yomkela say, now he take the lead in the parliament about the state of emergency. We get the His Excellency Julius Madabio, where the country don't trust the mandate to Ram, where for take the lead. What did they do? Because the MP in the parliament at that particular time, we don't have serious problem, the pandemic and global disease, and I believe say that particular time we need swift reaction. So imagine at that particular time the MPs block the proclamations and then try for say for slow down the actions Today people go talk saying sabotage. So for me, it's not only on parliament. The big responsibility is down to the government. But today, like usual, when they fall short for letting kind of them platform here and respond to them pertinent issues here, you know, they see none of them. Then I feel say this not the problem, this is what they get. Emmanuel Ali, you know, go tell me say it began all the time, all these past 48 hours. For can social media share video of everything in Kaila, boundary and everything. But when it can serve and represents on behalf of the government, they are the taxpayer. The taxpayers, they pay them huge money. Then hear about the 2019 Auditor General report and other issues and the MCC report. With this, at the time, this will forget government officials on this platform and for answer their issues here. Yes, Parliament will fall short for giving that big responsibility for 12 months. But therefore can't tell we why then disappoint and they let down the parliamentarians them. It's about the presidency. We need for call things by their name. Not at times for look for scapegoats and time for take the dirty box. You understand? Okay. The president now in the lead the country, I believe say he don't fail the people I believe say for come out, that make them the eye. people like McBrewer, then they call them, and program them, they all the eye. Because today in the country, people then they go to bank, then they get money, then they get nothing. The economy they in a mess. Then the country is sad for what will happen. For me, that's not the thing. This is what we need for all this government accountable, rather than yes, it's about check and balances, and Parliament is one of the organs of government. Then we need for all them accountable as well. But what about the executive? We get the highest mandates. What will they do about them? Then about going in governance, we have the three organs. Them, if anyone falls short, we're in trouble. But the big responsibility then are the president. So for me, like the other person again, let away in your own contribution. Thank you once more.
Many thanks, Mr. Mohammed Ali Jallo. Many thanks. Now they recognize, you the name because you also there in the WhatsApp then in our platform, so which you are very active. And let me be honest, it's my first time, you're putting a name to a face to the name. And thank you very much, for turning up. I really appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a damning indictment. But like the brother say, the attacks can be scathing, but not in good will, not in good nature, because what we expect when we hold the government in foot under fire, not because of bad acts, like some people like you want to describe as one of the most abused worldwide inside this 2020 where they can't done so. Hate. Now the word would no, it's not hate. Maybe for some people, but I believe not the vast majority of people, because for critique government, it's a good thing. Let's talk about the substance of the criticism. Is it out of malice? Is it egregious? And most times when we do it's not like what we did discuss now. So thank you, Mr. Jallo. Sister Fataba Dembi, are you there? Will you unmute your mic, please? Sister Fataba Dembi? Okay, maybe she's gone too far from her device. Mr. Yusuf Bangura, are you there, sir? Mr. Yusuf Bangura? Okay, I believe Mr. Yusuf Bangura as well is far away from his microphone or gadget that he is using. So let me come back to our guest. We still get a little bit of time. And Fambulem, just a quick reminder, the program what we get here today is titled 2020 in retrospect. In other words, we look at the whole 2020 from we government, how they do, waiting and do. So we call them the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it's not only the bad things we are looking at. Although if we lay emphasis on the bad things, I believe, say, from the professionals, the way we get on this platform, now because we want to see the good things for come out of the bad things. You can do bad thing, the thing where we need for appreciate. Not so possible where they tell you yes all the time. People say yes all the time, not possible where you're afraid. The possible way you're not afraid, now that good friend we get mind, for pull you, for hold you, for draw you and say, hey, what you do so you're not right. Outside you go so you're not correct. That's the friend that you want for bring closer to you. Not to the one way always they do yes sir and yes ma. That is wrong. So Fambulem, now the program here what they get today, the good, the bad, and the ugly, the government of Sierra Leone, how we see them, they perform. Mr. Cornelius, of course, you are far away in the Smiling Coast. So we need for do you some justice. You know the one where the farthest, the other two guests, then they're very close to me. So I want to go back to you, Mr. Devo. Okay. Something has sense from the way you talk, even though you try for hold back a little and they try for understand the constraints and why you try for restrict yourself. A sense, you not see things they go right for the party, and that's not what I'm asking you for on that personal note. But on the general note, in terms of governance, in terms of policy, where we open this statement or this platform with this evening, your party has not been doing quite well in holding government into account. They appear to have been rowdy, either succumbing or conceding, but nothing, yet constructive in holding the government of Sierra Leone. For many of them things that they try for articulate tonight. Will this be a characterization where you go agree with? And if you do, will you cite one or two things in which you find your own party wanting?
Sir, please. I will answer your question as a Sierra Leonean.
Yes, sir. You're not a politician.
But, yes, but I mean, the interest of Sierra Leone is above political consideration. But before I go there, I still want to make a clarification anchoring on waiting the last observer just make mention. And I want to make them very clear. See, I'm not a shift the goalpost. I not intend for stigmatize anybody when I blame Parliament for the imposition of a 12-month state of emergency. At the same time, I know they exonerate government from any double standard.
Yep.
Like how they say that they take people them for a ride. And the people away this government they take for a ride, not just mean ordinary citizens, but they also going to be interesting for making us say they include the members of Parliament. So what are they blame Parliament for? Now that the Constitution is very clear. It says give government the right for imposed state of emergency for 90 days. After 90 days, let them come back. If need be for extend them, una extend them. Una sit down without regulation, una give government the right for imposed state of emergency for 12 months, contrary to the prescriptions of the Constitution. When we say una the very parliamentarians, now una back they violate the prescriptions of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for let people, let people know that. And I see he also they talk about no money, money not in a bank. I choose for bring this in because I want for make people to understand the propaganda behind the coming of the SLPP to governance. They say APC don't thief all the money. When they come, they pull a GTT report, they say the economy bankrupt. But in that bankrupt economy, one day people are not going to bank for their savings, they say money no dey. In that bankrupt economy, one day people are not dey, month don't they not pay them. In that bankrupt economy, for over 10 years, 11 years, that the first 10 these Sierra Leoneans, they spend Christmas without them not getting salaries.
Wow.
It's important for let the people to know this because I want to make them very clear to them for let them know say this government, they always take the people there for a ride. They feel say not to all understand. But circumstances and events, they reveal their true colors. But in the process of governance, I think say my party self don't be complicit. Because I don't think say any responsible opposition in a democracy go allow for a national publicity secretary choose for living exile. And they acknowledge that simply because they not put nobody in a position to act the same person for act. Any outside person they act, it means they recognize the substantive. And I think say that now a failure on the part of the APC as an opposition in a democracy. So many aspects of failure also don't be pointed at. When you look at the Lunge Airport Extension Project, don't forget to say, one of the things with the SLPP campaign against the Mamama Airport project, when have been the APC alternative to waiting then Kawit, when a Lunge extension project. And during the elections, we campaigned in support of Mamama, and we still believe as a party say, Mamama na a viable and better option than the Lunge Airport Extension Project. While it is true that even the APC member of parliament who they represent Lunge, they prevent them from participating in the ceremony, the fact remains that if Mamama Airport so dear to the APC, when the agreement they go at parliament, even though the agreement na I call a back na front arrangement, in the sense that the constitution say all such agreements for going to parliament first they ratify them before government sign them and award them. But in this case, governments don't sign and award them before they can go to parliament. And you have APC members of parliament applauding the extension project as if Mamama is not important, when Mamama are part of a manifesto. Mamama are part of the reason when we explain to people, we make them vote for them in parliament. I think it's a shocker, you know, because some of we know waiting actually that the package will present to the people for say, as an alternative to a bill government. This is the APC Samora Kamara government. Now this will be do. And on that basis, the people then vote for the current members of APC in a parliament. And it is also shocking that we members of parliament can discuss a national peace commission when they know very well that to get comrades the way the language na prison. They knew very well that first of all we had raised issues with the Bintumani 3 conference where Naina the sprouts of this peace commission, you know. And then we see APC members of parliament applauding the peace commission and not even asking for one sebo, this peace commission. What now the essence of peace when this government they continue for local members in Pademba? Why is it they discuss peace commission? Medke was arrested, ambush commander was arrested, they were detained at Pademba Road for no reason. They say for safety.
But this one, they go say no more na you wondering, or maybe there are others, but your representation at parliament will make up your representation of your officials them, which were elected into that body day. Now then they weigh in with government for help government, you know, yeah, for move, which I think say you're bitter about. But isn't that a good thing in some sense? Because they're not just good to say no, Cornelius.
No. When it comes to the free quality education, members of parliament support her because it's a party policy.
Right.
Any improvement in the quality of education is a party policy. They not only support them by debate and voting and calling parliament, they also make financial contribution. And in the various constituencies, they would also serve members of parliament and they provide teaching and learning materials to their constituents and they provide some scholarships to their constituents there. Okay. So our members of parliament are supporting the free quality education and the party is appreciative of that. But when it comes to other issues, like I say, the peace and security of general members, the police can wake number one morning, they arrest anybody. What of the opposition? What is the essence of a peace commission? Okay, members the way they live in exile. What is the essence of a peace commission? What will still get members the way they afraid for their life? What will still get members them where the government they armed? What is the essence of a peace commission? You see, so this 2020 is very important to every Sierra Leonean, not just because of the corona pandemic, even though yes, we tell God thank you, they died, they will get in a salon in all each other country them, but we know say some of the rules them, the impositions them, cause a lot of suffering, financial setbacks, suffering on the ordinary masses.
Okay.
But I think say, now the midterm year of the 5-year tenure of the SLPP government. And it is sufficient time now when they go tell we say, they not go tell we say, we inherited the broken economy. It is sufficient time now when they not go tell we say, na APC not they make good. So we have sufficient time now, even the one that will be the talk before, be they say, the one give them chance, the man is not 1 year 8, the man is not 6 months 8. It's it's past 2.5 years going to 3 years now. So it's the midterm year.
Okay.
So if we're able for do it. But basically, before I conclude, if they ask what the government they do a good.
Yeah.
I think say the government in decision for make them begin post almost when they pay teachers them, other than the teachers, then they pay